bring up our final speaker before we go for our break, before we go to our final speakers later this evening. Her name is Dr. Elizabeth Carter. She is under the category of inspiration and empowerment, and her topic today, our final power talk before our break, get over yourself, ego versus opportunity. Dr. Elizabeth Carter, the stage is yours.
Thank you. Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. The ego is the single biggest obstruction to the achievement of everything, as stated by Richard Rose, a Zen spiritual teacher. I ask all of you, how many of you have had destructions and obstructions in your life? If that's me, type me in the chat. As a corporatepreneur, I talk to employees and clients all the time about their career struggle. And more often than not, their ego is the root of their evil. I believe ego is like a winter hat. We put it on to protect ourselves. We cover our heads, our ears, and sometimes our eyes. But realistically, it is shielding our peripheral vision of life, opportunities, and sometimes common sense. And then we wonder why we're undervalued and we're not where we're supposed to be in life. Today, I will share with you my decision-making framework that has allowed me to get over my ego, minimize it, and maximize my opportunities. If you're ready to minimize and maximize, type M&M in the chat. I've been working in finance in the insurance industry for over 25 years. And I know my obstructions have held me back. I'd probably say I'm at least 5 years behind where I should be. Allow me to share my story. It was June 1st, 2009. I was working in Atlanta, Georgia. I had an assistant vice president title, a staff of 9, a beautiful corner office overlooking the city. My boss came in and said that they were selling off my business division. And he gave me 2 choices. Choice number 1, an all expense paid relocation to the parent office in Wilmington, Delaware, where I'd have a smaller staff, a smaller office, and less responsibilities. And behind door number 2, the Georgia Unemployment Office. Not having much of a choice, I had only moved to Atlanta 18 months prior. I had no tenure, no severance, and no contacts. So I took door number 1 to be safe. But my ego was gnawing at me, saying there has to be more for you. Keep looking. And I did. And I got a job offer. An Erie, Pennsylvania company wanted to bring me right away. They loved my resume. They fed my ego. I was like, this is great. But as I looked at the offer, my ego started to talk to me again. It said, you know what? You've been working hard all these years. Your career has been great, but you've been through sacrifices, the stress, the staying late. You've served your companies well. It's time for you to get a big tip. And TIP is an acronym for title, income, and placement. Title, they wanted to offer me a director title. To me, was a demotion for where I was at that point in time. The income, they couldn't pay me my current salary, and they said they would revisit that in 6 months. Type in the chat, revisit, if someone has told you that before at work. And then placement. They wanted me to sit in a cube and really relinquish that symbolism and placement of having an office with a window and a door. And snowy Erie, Pennsylvania, not all that attractive coming from hot Atlanta. With those considerations and an awful conversation with their human resource person, I turned down that job. I took my Delaware door and went on my merry way for 6 more years. Then in 2016, my boss came to me again and said they were downsizing and gave me one option: the Delaware Unemployment Office, a place where I sat for nearly a year and a half. Some of that was ego, but more about the opportunities. I was waiting. I had my decision-making framework and I was ready. And in 2017, September, I got the job I have today. But here's the irony. I'm a director. I have no staff. I sit in a cube, and I am less than 2 hours south of Erie, Pennsylvania. That's karma. I don't know where I would have been today had I shedded my wool cap and taken that job in Erie 11 years ago. But I am so thankful that this time I wasn't focused on those trivial elements that could hold me back. Now, I know many of you may not have had an experience like that, but I'm sure you have made decisions that were egocentric. My challenge to you is, can you get over yourself and not allow your ego to sabotage your next opportunity? When we think about making decisions, there are usually 3 areas that we focus in on. And what my decision-making framework does, it says, I will talk to you about what you think you need for the opportunity or not need, but to think about what the opportunity will lead to. Type need and lead in the chat because they are very different. In our decision-making thought process, we have 3 considerations, usually the responsibilities, the social conditions, and the economic conditions. Ryan Holiday says in his book, Ego is the Enemy, that regardless of success or failure, ego gets in the way and holds you back. I disagree with that. I think that ego can hurt and help. It hurts when we think about what we think we need. I need a title, an office, a short commute, tons of vacation days, a beautiful office overlooking a lake. Those are what I call non-elevating and non-economic demands. You should be focused in on the work and the value and wisdom you bring. But instead, we're focused on trivial items that don't add value nor take money out of our pocket. And as we're thinking about our decision-making framework, we have to take our ego, drop the E, and let it go. And when I think about the tips I thought I needed 11 years ago, when I think about it now, titles don't matter. Every company has different ways in which they title positions. And as far as income and salaries are negotiable. It is just the total compensation you should be focused in on. And I've relocated 5 times and have done many negotiations since. And placement. With COVID, I'm home. I have a window here. I have a door behind me. I've got a refrigerator full of food. I've got it made. Placement doesn't matter anymore. And when I go back and think about my list of demands back then, they really were trivial needs. And if I would have dug deep and said, that's not important, it would have made a big difference to me today. And how ego helps is when we think differently about the opportunity and we consider what it will lead to. And lead is an acronym: learn, engage, adapt, and distinguish. What will you learn with your new opportunity? Will you widen or deepen your expertise? With whom will you engage with? Will it be senior leaders, movers and shakers, industry influences, those who can grow your network for you? Adapt. Quite often, change is needed when we take on something new. We may need to change our schedule, change our habits, change our home environment, maybe even change an attitude. And distinguish. How will you distinguish yourself in your new environment? How will you become a star? And that takes a lot of deep thinking and strategizing, especially when you may need to step back to catch up. For me, taking on this role, I had to think really deeply about these areas. I knew I would learn a lot about my industry and really deepen my knowledge to make me more marketable for my next position. Being in the corporate office, I'm engaging with senior leaders all the time who see and hear me and value me. I've adapted to the weather and I've changed my schedule to work to suit my customers in the market. And how I've distinguished myself as an African-American female working in finance where there are few who look like me. It is my job to provide the voice and vision for those to see behind me that it can be done. And that is my distinction. I tell you all, my need and lead framework could work for you. Go to my website, www.eac-appeal.com to get started. There I have for you the consideration worksheet so you can begin to get over and past your needs and get to your leads. I thank Dr. Sherwell for this opportunity, and I ask you all, please don't let your ego be your enemy or your obstruction. Think about getting over and past those needs, those non-elevating economic demands, and open yourself up to what it could lead to and how you may engage, adapt, and distinguish yourself for the next opportunity. Get over yourself and get going. Thank you.
Come on, Dr. Elizabeth. You did that. Y'all, didn't she do it? Just type that in the chat. She did that. That was so juicy. Such great takeaways. You did that. Get over yourself. Don't you like the way she ended that? Just look, get over yourself so you can get to that next opportunity. Thank you so much. Y'all, do what we do for every speaker. Show them love. Give her a hand clap and a snap in the chat. Let her know that you valued everything that Dr. Elizabeth Carter shared with us. Wow. Can we just say wow? We have been so fed.